Moonshine Tales with Digger Mains, and NFDA PAC fundraising. Even it was one of those crisp Appalachian evenings where the mist rolls low over the hills, the fireflies blink like tiny lanterns, and the scent of honeysuckle dances through the air. The kind of night where stories come to life and the spirits, both the moonshine and the dearly departed, seem a little closer than usual. That particular Friday, the holler buzzed with anticipation. Word had spread far and wide. Digger Mains, the silver-bearded moonshiner with a knack for mischief and storytelling, was headlining a special event. But this wasn't just any moonshine shindig. This was the NFDA PAC fundraising event, a unique mashup of policy, passion, and good old Appalachian storytelling, all in the name of supporting the National Funeral Directors Association's Political Action Committee. And if that sounded like an odd mix, well, you clearly never met Digger. The venue, where spirits meet the event, was set at Old Pine Hollow, a rustic barn-turned-event space nestled between the Smoky Mountains and the whispers of history. Fairy lights strung through rafters cast a soft golden glow, and mason jars filled with non-regulation apple juice, courtesy of Digger's personal stash, were passed around generously. "You gotta sip it slow," Digger warned the crowd, as he raised a jar in salute. "If your tongue don't burn a little and your ancestors don't start whisperin', it ain't proper moonshine." The crowd erupted with laughter. Funeral directors from all corners of the country, wearing everything from suits to flannel, clinked glasses and settled into hay bale seating, ready for an evening of spirits and storytelling. At the front of the barn, a makeshift stage bore a crooked wooden sign, MONSHINE-TLES. LIVBYTHDIGGR. Next to it stood a sleek banner with the NFDA logo and the words, "Standing Up for Funeral Professionals." PAC fundraiser. The crowd may have come for the stories, but they stayed for the Causier toast to advocacy before the first tale spun out from Digger's mischievous mouth. NFDA PAC chairwoman Lorna Jacobs stepped up to the mic, smiling brightly. "We're here tonight not just to enjoy some of the finest backwoods storytelling and shine this side of the Mississippi," she began, "but to raise vital funds for our PAC, so we can continue to advocate on behalf of funeral professionals at every level of government." A smattering of applause turned into a loud cheer when she added, "And who better to help us raise those funds than a man who knows all about underground operations?" "Hey now," Digger shouted from the back, grinning. "My operations are perfectly legal. Ish. Number 1. The case of the phantom casket. Y'all ever heard of the phantom casket?" Digger began, standing center stage, his eyes twinkling in the lantern light. "Happened right here in these hills." The story wove around an old mortician who supposedly buried empty caskets to save on costs and kept the dearly departed stashed in a hidden moonshine bunker. Every time the authorities caught wind of it, the bodies would vanish, and the casks would be filled with gallon jugs of peach shine. Turns out old Morty was a moonshiner first, and a funeral director second, Digger said with a wink. He figured folks wouldn't be complainin' from the other side. Laughter bubbled up from the crowd as someone dropped a 20 into the PAC donation bucket shaped like a mini coffin. Tale number 2. The Moonshine Widow. This next one's about love, loss, and liquor, Digger drawled, taking a long sip of clear liquid. "It's a tearjerker. Might even make a hardened embalmer cry." He told the tale of Mabel Thornberry, a widow who ran a funeral parlor alone after her husband passed. Business was slow, until she started offering reef shots of her late husband's secret moonshine recipe. Turns out, grief goes down easier with a warm burn in your chest. Mabel made enough money to retire early, Digger said. She even bought a Cadillac hearse just for showing off, painted it pink. By this point, the donations were flowing as fast as the moonshine. The crowd was charmed and slightly tipsy. Advocacy? The Appalachian Way midway through the night. Data got serious. Well, y'all, he said, setting down his jar. We can laugh and sip and spin yarns all night, but let's talk turkey for a minute. Funeral directors are the ones who guide folks through the darkest days of their lives. We help carry the weight, honor the departed, and preserve tradition. But we gotta stick together. He pointed toward the PAC banner behind him. The NFDA PAC ain't about politics, it's about protection. Protection for our profession, our values, and our communities. Y'all don't want Washington making rules without understanding our world. That's why we need this fund, to speak loud and clear. Applause broke out, slow at first, then loud and proud. Tale number 3. Bootleg and burials. You ever tried to transport a coffin in a pickup truck with a leaking gas tank on your tail? 3 raccoons. Digger asked, deadpan. The crowd roared. I did, and I don't recommend it. This one was pure chaos, part chase scene, part family feud, and part accidental exhumation involving a dynamite mistake and one very confused preacher. By the end, the whole barn was laughing so hard that a few folks nearly fell off their hay bales. A call to action. Moonshine style as the evening wound down, Digger raised his jar for a final toast. To the ones who came before us, the ones we serve, and the ones fighting to keep this profession strong. Donate what you can. Raise a glass. And remember, moonshine's good, but advocacy is better. And with that, people lined up to donate, take photos with Digger, and buy limited edition Moonshine Tales flasks, with all proceeds going straight to the NFDA PAC after party in the graveyard because of course there was one. Just down the hill, under the moonlit oaks, Digger led a group of brave and slightly tipsy volunteers on a Spirits of the Hollow tour. He pointed out headstones, told ghost stories, and even claimed to hear a voice say, "Refill my jar, Digger." Cool have been my stomach, he admitted. Or Uncle Rufus. Hard to say. Final tally. A roaring success by midnight. The PAC had raised more than triple their goal. But perhaps more importantly, they reminded everyone that advocacy doesn't have to be stiff or somber. It can be wild, heartfelt, and even a little mischievous, just like Diva himself. As folks hugged goodbye and stumbled toward waiting vans and designated drivers, one funeral director from Chicago whispered to another, "That was the best PAC fundraiser I've ever attended." Who knew moonshine and policy made such a good pair? From the shadows, Digger winked. Sugar and firewater, my friend. It's all about the mix. Epilogue. A message in a mason jar. Weeks later, NFDA members across the country received a small package, a mason jar labeled Moonshine Tales. Keep the spirit alive, with a QR code linking to a PAC donation page and video highlights from the event. It became a treasured keepsake, and a reminder that even in the most serious of professions, there's always room for a little Appalachian magic. The moon rose full and round over the rolling hills of East Tennessee, casting a silver sheen on the mist that curled lazily over the mountain hollers. The scent of wood smoke drifted on the air, mingling with the faint tang of sweet corn mash fermenting somewhere deep in the woods. It was a perfect night for stories, and even better for raising a little money and a little hell. The National Funeral Directors Association's Political Action Committee, NFDA PAC, had never hosted a fundraising event quite like this before. But when someone suggested involving Diva Maines, the legendary moonshiner and star of moonshiners, nobody blinked an eye. If anyone could combine backwoods storytelling, Appalachian hospitality, and grassroots political fundraising, It was Dig and so the event was born. Moonshine Tales with Digger Mains, part party, part policy pitch, and all pure Southern spectacle. Welcome to the Hollow. The venue was unlike anything most attendees had ever seen. Instead of a hotel ballroom or city conference center, the event was held in a wide clearing behind an old funeral home turned event space in the hills of Cock County. Lanterns hung from branches, casting warm pools of light around hay bale seating. A makeshift stage had been built from repurposed casket wood, courtesy of a retired embalmer who now made rustic furniture for the living. Attendees, funeral directors from across the country, PAC members, legislators, and a few curious locals mingled with mason jars of clear liquid in hand. Is this the real stuff? A skeptical director from Minnesota asked, squinting at his drink. Digger, dressed in his signature overalls and wide-brimmed hat, grinned. Son, if your toes don't curl and your grandma don't whisper from the grave, it ain't mine. The kickoff. Advocacy with a buzz after everyone settled in with fried chicken, cornbread, and a healthy pour of apple pie. NFDA PAC chairwoman Linda Bosman stepped onto the stage. Now, y'all might be wondering what a moonshiner has to do with a political action committee, she began, drawing chuckles. But the truth is, both are about tradition, family, and making sure folks get what they need when they need it. She explained how the PAC works to protect the interests of funeral professionals, ensuring fair regulations, opposing burdensome legislation, and giving funeral directors a voice in Washington. Then she handed the mic. Well, actually a vintage CB radio hooked to a speaker, to the man of the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Duke of Distillation, the Baron of Booze, Mr. Digger Mains, Diver's first tale. The time I almost got buried alive, twice. Diver stepped up and tipped his hat. All right, y'all. First, thank you for letting a humble country boy ramble at ye tonight. Second, donate what you can, and tie.